This episode of Chew Quieter is sponsored by LiftedForLess.com. LiftedForLess.com is your one-stop online marketplace for top quality parts and accessories for your Jeep, Bronco, or truck, carrying great brands like Rockcrawler Suspension, Savvy Off-Road, Rigid Industries, and many more. With a wide range of products designed to enhance your vehicle, trust LiftedForLess.com to provide you with the best in the industry. And Rub One, revolutionizing the way you wash and protect your Jeep, truck, and side-by-side. Easy to use products designed to give your ride that perfect finish, whether you're on the streets or on the trails. With optional low pressure or high pressure foam cannons, Rub One has you covered. Get yours now at rub-one.com.
All right, you guys, podcast time.
Chew. It's quieter.
Fucking podcasting right now.
Chew Quieter.
And now, to the podcast studio.
Welcome back to Chew Quieter, everyone. It is me, your co-host with Chris Meehan. I'm Gabe Mercado, and today we have a special guest, Mr. Rich Klein with Trail Hero. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. Good to see you, finally.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Watched the podcast a couple times. Some catchy things coming up with some of your episodes, and glad to finally be a part of it.
Yeah, I'm glad you could join us. We've had you on a list for quite a while, and we've been just meaning to get you on, and finally got it. I've been meaning to actually meet you too, because we've been Facebook friends for a long time.
Well, we're Facebook official. That means a lot. You know, that's pretty good.
So for those that don't know who Rich is, he is one of the masterminds behind Trail Hero. So go ahead and give a little background on Trail Hero, how it started, some people that you want to shout out and work with, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so Trail Hero started out as a 3-day event with about 400 participants. That's when we count participants, it's vehicles. And we just finished year 9. We had over 6,000, I think 6,300 and something vehicles participating in the event with, who paid for guided trail rides, and we're actually part of the event, probably an additional 4,000 or 5,000 vehicles that just attend and are there on their own accord, doing their own thing without being part of the event. And the whole idea behind the event is creating motorized access opportunities for people with special needs and veterans. We use the platform to try to get as many people involved, and then once we've got the people involved, we use the platform to distribute the message, the narrative, and get out there and push a topic that maybe isn't necessarily the most popular, and that's how land use is affected by everyone, and without motorized access, these people can't go for a hike, they can't go for a walk, can't jump on a bike or ride a horse, and they have to have motorized access to experience the therapeutic benefits of the outdoors, which, their vehicles, whether it's a Jeep, side-by-side, buggy, truck, doesn't matter what it is, that's the legs of that individual, and that gives them the ability to get outdoors and do things that they typically wouldn't have the opportunity to do.
Sounds like a great program. It's helping, like you said, disabled veterans. So
yeah, we have 3 community outreach programs. The first is kids access. We don't like to label them as special needs, but they are from the school's special education department. And they all have their own hurdles, different ways. They're not all cognitive or physical. Maybe some of them are just having problems at home or whatever. They need to disconnect and get out and enjoy life a little bit. And so we take the kids from Valley Academy Charter School out, usually about 30 kids and about 15 chaperones. And then another part of our program is special needs access, where we work with Red Rock Center of Independence, and we take adults from 14 and up, that are cognitive or physically disabled individuals that are within the Red Rock Center of Independence program itself. And then we have our Veterans Access, which is specifically veterans. It doesn't matter if you need a seat, if you have a seat, if you have wheels. We just want you to come out. It's free of charge. We give every veteran and their spouse VIP tickets to our music festival all 3 days. We give them the trail ride on Thursday to run whatever they want to do. Doesn't matter if they're running with our veterans run or they're out with their buddies on a trail. It's all free. So that's the community outreach programs.
So if anyone has physical disabilities, is there accommodations made in the vehicle for them, or is there special vehicles already made for these people?
So I'm a mechanical engineer, and I've been part of, and recently I'm not no longer a part of it, but Jeep has what you call a mobility program where you design um, apparatuses that go into vehicles that allow people easy access into their vehicle, whether it's as a driver or a passenger. And I've designed probably about 40 of these things. One of them, probably the most notable, is on David Adams' rig. He used it during Truck Night in America. And, a group of friends and I designed this thing, and it goes into these vehicles, and we're part of that program for a while. And recently we're no longer part of it, but for the trail ride, we just use the regular trail riders that want to be on the trail and give this opportunity. We use their vehicles, and we help the individuals into the vehicle. And then when we're on the trail, if they need to get out, it takes a team, but we get people in and out pretty easily.
So, Chris, that sounds like something I would need, a ladder to get on a horse, or these days with my aging body, even just to get in a lifted TJ or something.
So I think it was, I think it would have been 4 years maybe since I did the last one. And we took the kids out from the charter school, and I had 2 passengers in my Jeep, and they were like just blown away. It was just, it didn't matter what we did. It was just laughter. You could have just given it a little bit of gas and they'd be like, oh, it's just something new to them that's insane. And that's why we do it, is because we take it for granted what we do. Yeah. And then when you get someone that has no idea what they're in for, and hearing them laugh, like I was hearing people laugh and scream 4 to 5 Jeeps up, just doing something easy, just listening to them. It's just, it's the most rewarding thing I think with doing off-road that I think I've ever done.
That's cool.
And you've done it, been a trail leader once, or how many times?
Well, I was there for the whole week. So I was either in the rear or middle. I never trail led. I'm always in the back. I think I like to be in the middle of the back more, because you get to talk to more people rather than just be at the front.
Yeah.
I'll let the other guys do the front, because, I have more fun in the back.
Yeah, I could just imagine how these kids and people in general feel about going out for the first time. I remember my first time. I was an adult. My first time. I mean, I grew up in Los Angeles, inner city kid. So I moved to Denver in 2000 and never left the city of Denver until 2010. And some friends that had Jeeps, they were like, hey, you want to go out and do some camping and stuff? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't like getting dirty, I was kind of I don't want to say prissy, because I don't mind getting dirty, but I didn't really have the shoes. I wasn't really equipped for all of that sort of thing. So I said, fuck it. I'll break out of my comfort zone. Let's do it. Let's go. And so they took me up in the mountains. We did some very light trail riding. We're up in Guffey, just in the central Colorado mountains area, central southern kind of. And we got to this top of the mountain range, and I was like, this is just absolutely fucking beautiful. Like, I've never seen anything like this before. I had fun the entire time getting up to that ridge. And I was like, you know what? When I get home, I think I might have to buy a Jeep. And that was Labor Day weekend, 2010. I went home, traded my Subaru for a Jeep.
Yeah. Good choice.
And, yeah.
That's been the problem. I'll say that's the problem. You're a Subaru driver to start off with.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't really like a racy Subaru either. It was a family Subaru, which was even worse.
That's an Outback.
No, it was a Tribeca, which is like the minivan of them.
I would have taken the Outback before I said that word.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So, I mean, just for someone like myself to experience that for the first time and have so much joy and pleasure in that quick ride, I just can't imagine how a kid would feel, or an adolescent, or someone that has special needs and has never been to this type of event, or the reservoir even.
Yeah, I think they drive past it all the time, and they see people up there. Yeah. And I can guarantee you they'll be like, man, I'd love to go up there one day. Well, they get their chance for that whole week to go and experience it.
Yeah, and the kids, I mean, we give hundreds of passes to the school to just be at the event and get in and experience the park. And you'd be surprised at how many people in the St. George area have no clue that Sand Hallow exists. And here it is, a mecca for our sport, and nobody really even knows that it's there. So it's one of those things, like maybe they drive by it, they look at the mountain, it looks pretty, but they don't really know what they're missing out on. And that's kind of why we wanted to build the event, was to get people there and get people understanding the narrative. It's kind of a narrative that people on both sides of the aisle can agree with. It's the sport has always kind of been a traditional generational thing, right? My grandfather off-roaded, my dad off-roaded. I do it, and I want my grandkids to do it, and so on and so forth. And that only works for so long, and the only people who care about that are people on our side of the aisle. And when you include user groups that they need motorized access to experience the outdoors, they can't do the same thing, they're not able-bodied, now you're able to not just help that user group, but also reach across the aisle and get a consensus that this is something that's needed for everyone, and something that people on both sides of the aisle can agree with. So I think it's incredibly necessary.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good thing you're doing. Like I said before, we started recording tonight. For the last 10 years, maybe more, I've been saying that I want to get to Trail Hero. And I keep saying, next year I'm going to go for sure.
Yeah.
Next year comes around, work takes over, and I just can't get away. And next year I'm going for sure. And I can prove it to you. By next year, I'm going to have in my Facebook memories, there's going to be a whole rash of posts that me saying, next year for sure, next year for sure.
I would love to attend Trail Hero. I never get to go. I'm there, but I don't get to experience it, So.
It's the worst thing of organising something. You don't get to breathe it. It's too much stress running around and making sure everyone else is having a good time.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What are your activities for the event if you're not out trail riding or having fun?
Well, it's the whole idea behind the event was we've all been to many events. I really enjoy going to Jeepers Jamboree and Moab Easter Jeep Safari and King of the Hammers and all these, and they all have kind of one thing in common, and that is that when you're done with the activity, everyone looks around and goes, okay, well, what next? And do we go back to the camp? We do our own thing? Do we find a place to eat? What's going on? What is there a party tonight? It's always a thing, right? And so what we wanted to do was have kind of like nonstop action from the time you wake up to the time you pass out. And when you're done with this vacation, you almost need another vacation to get back into the groove of things because you're so worn out and tired from having all the fun. So I just got really tired of being in Moab, getting done with my trail riding, going, okay, what's next? And instead we said, okay, well, we're going to put together a full schedule. We're going to pack everything we can into it and have something every hour of the day for just about anybody. So when you're done with your trail rides, which usually it starts about 9 o'clock and ends at about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, we have free motorsports, racing, or exhibitions like trail breaker or rock crawling competitions or side-by-side races. And they're all free to watch for anybody. And that usually lasts from 2 to about 6 p.m. And then we have evening parties, whether it's a glow party or a gala or a music festival. There's always some way to be engaged in the event. And then additionally, we have the vendor show, which this year had over 220 vendors. Wow. It was easily the largest vendor show we've ever put together. And it was it's just massive. It's amazing how this thing has exponentially grown. It's crazy.
Talk about the growth. Like from the first year you had Trail Hero, did you think it would grow to this level?
Well, to be honest, the first year of Trail Hero, we were only supposed to do it 1 year. It wasn't even an inaugural event. We just said, we're doing this once. Our whole goal was to save the mountain. And I'd been doing the rock crawling, like competition thing for a long time. And if you know the comp stuff or any kind of racing for that matter, Ultra 4 is no different. You show up and you race and you absorb all of the community things, whatever it is. And by the time you're done with your race or your event, you're so tired, you didn't really plan on giving back to the community in any way. So you just kind of absorb what you can, take what you can, and move on to the next race. And that's one thing when I did this, I said, well, whatever we do, we have to have a way to impact the community. And so that was our number one focus from the beginning. We knew that that was going to be part of what helped save the mountain, is that motorized access thing, that just narrative. And once we did the first event, Jake White from Cardo Tracks, he was on the way back from some Dixie event, Dixie Run or whatever on the East Coast, stopped by Lynchburg, Tennessee, and he helped me map all of our trails, and he brought me a bottle of Gentleman Jack, and it said inaugural Trail Hero event, and he handed it to me after every single person was gone. It was just me, Aaron Coleman, Crystal Coleman, Jake, and his wife Jennifer, and that was it. That was all that was left at the event. And we had said, you know, the three of us, me, Aaron, and Crystal, which is pretty much the core of Trail Hero, that from the beginning, we had said, okay, that was a great event. You know, we provided economic impact, we provided a community impact. We may never need to do this again. And he gave us the bottle and said, you're going to open this on year 10, and we're going to have a great drink. And Aaron looked at me and goes, we're going to do this again. It was a big enough deal. People had enough fun. We should consider it. And to be honest, I didn't want to. It was hell just getting the first year going. Nobody knew what the hell we were doing. It was, if you were at the first year, you may have gone like, hey, this is great. There's all these things. But at the end of it, like, all of our staff was pinned. We didn't realize how much, how ambitious we were. And it showed on our face. It wore us out. And it took about 2 months to get the staff back together and go, is this something we want to do again? And when they said yes, I said, okay, well, let's try it again. And every year we had done it, it got a little easier. And, you know, we just do the same thing over and over again, year after year. So, and we might take a piece out and plug another piece in just to make it more creative, more fun, more engaging. But at the end of the day, it's kind of the same program, and it works. It's effective for our community. It saved the mountain. We no longer have a developer trying to move in, and with the Trail Hero platform, we've kept other things from happening on the mountain, like the expansion of Water District moving in and taking a bunch of our public land and turning it into commercial land. We expelled that. You know, there's always something going on the mountain, and we've been kind of one of the leaders in keeping that open. There's a bunch of people in play, obviously, but we're pretty happy to be situated where we're at with that.
So I will call it. I did tell you that this event would be bigger than EJS.
Yes, you did.
That conversation?
Yep.
And it's
and I didn't believe you.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. It's crazy.
We surpassed, and expectedly, we surpassed EJS in 2020 when they didn't have much of an event, if anything.
Yep.
And we put the pedal to the metal and said, we're going to keep our rights. We're going to do it anyway. And I got an $80,000 fine from our health department, but I don't care. I'm doing this. And it was so different because that was the first time when I really felt like this community, it's almost like a family reunion. People are happy to see each other. There's hugs, and even though there was this aura or whatever, this energy of, you know, we could really get sick. There's something lingering. Utah kind of gave the middle finger to the whole thing, and I was like, we're riding that wave. Let's do this, you know? Because in my opinion, off-roading is inherently social distancing. We're all in our Jeeps. We're 20 feet away. Right. Whatever. And we're very fortunate to live outside in a very arid environment, and that just didn't have much of a chance to do its thing, right? In Utah in general, we were very lucky. And, you know, health department came in and said some things and slapped a fine on us. And by the end of, or the beginning of 2021, I had the county commissioners get rid of the fines, and we were off to the races again. And so, you know, it's since then we've been bigger than EJS, and I don't know any other event that has 6,000 registered trail riders. It's just insane.
It is the biggest. Has become the biggest off-roading event, I'd say, in America right now.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you have the best place to do it.
So I want to get back to that, but first, I want to talk about the golf outing that you have.
Yeah.
Who's the worst golfer that you've seen so far?
Probably Larry McRae. Or actually, Chris is probably not that great, to be honest.
No. No.
He did a couple of them with us.
Yes.
Kind of though.
Probably Larry would be because he takes teeth out when he plays.
Yeah, yeah. He took out Sherry's tooth, I think, that year. Wow, gosh, Jason was he was okay, I guess, but I mean, your team was you, Gabe, Jason, and who was the fourth?
Pat? No. It was a Troy Gayton.
Oh, Troy, yeah, that's right.
Oh god,
And
he's
Troy's
gotta
pretty
be
good.
horrible.
Yeah.
Really, he is.
He's
Yeah,
up
I
there.
thought.
I would not expect Troy to be good at golf.
I was the one that was the worst. I just hit the ball. Nobody wants me
golf
on their
is-
team.
I don't know if golf's a big thing down under.
Oh, it is.
Oh, is it?
is. Yeah,
Okay.
we're the ones nearly always stealing the balls to sell them back to the golfers.
That's what it is.
See, and that's another reason why I want to go to Trail Heroes. I want to take my clubs. I want to go out and play with these guys, and
It's a lot of fun.
have a good laugh out there. So
There's a few people who take it seriously, like John Brownwood.
Yeah, he does.
Like,
He won this year.
Yeah, like they want to win. It's like they want to back it up every year.
Yeah. And it's great. We raise anywhere between $6,000 and $8,000 for 4-wheel to heel. This year they brought out 6 veterans that are all combat wounded veterans, and played a couple rounds with us, and it was great. The best part about it is we're raising money for a good charity, good 501c3. We're drinking, hitting balls, and having fun. Not a lot of people care too much about longest drive or what their score is. I think half the tournament doesn't even keep score. They just hit the ball and laugh and have fun, and that's kind of what it's all about.
yeah. All right, now I want to get back to the largest event, bigger than Moab. I think a lot of people saw the writing on the wall with EJS. Over the last couple dozen years, attendance has just gone down.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's in part of the local community and the governing body there. And at one point, it seemed like Hurricane in St. George area, they were just more welcoming and saying, hey, you guys should come over here. This is what we have to offer. Come check us out.
I'm just going to let you on a little secret. It's Hurricane. It's not
Yeah.
Hurricane. You just pissed off every Utah person in the state. It's Hurricane.
Hurricane. And
Hurricane.
yeah. It's a weird pronunciation, spelt the same way though.
Mm-hmm.
However, I tend to agree. The southern Utah, what we call southern Utah, is southwestern Utah, even though Moab is technically in the southern portion of Utah. Southern Utah is incredibly open and welcome to the off-road community because they understand the economic impact, and a lot of people here we're outdoor off-road lovers. We enjoy the desert and we go utilize it and get out there and explore. But the one thing that I would say is, and that's probably the major difference between the two, but the one thing I would say is that as a community, I don't think we should be focusing on Sand Hallow, and you would actually probably wonder why. And even though it's beneficial to what we do, at the end of the day, it's not beneficial for the sport. If we, traditionally we're a protest nation, and people, the way we protest is we say, well, we're not going to spend money there, we're not going to support them. Well, what I'm looking at is Moab and all the people that don't want us there getting in the way, and that doesn't mean that we're going to win. They're not going to look at the lack of economy from us and go, well, we should have let them stay here. We should have been nicer to them. They're going to go, we got exactly what we want. And so, in my opinion, we got to be almost like punk rock. We got to go into Moab and go like, fuck these guys.
Yep.
And do it anyway. Of course, nicely, but with the understanding of we're going to go there and we know you don't like us. And we're going to follow the rules. We're going to be quiet. We're going to do the thing, and we're going to be present. And I think that that's the most important part, because if we pull out of Moab, then right now all the focus is on getting off-road out of Moab. If and when that ever happens, now the target leaves Moab's back and goes somewhere else. Maybe it's your guys' hometown trail. Maybe it's mine. But what I know is that the target moves, and it goes to the next lowest hanging fruit. And it's probably not going to go to the loudest voice in off-road because, to be honest, we have a ton of push and we have a ton of support here locally. They're going to focus on the next lowest hanging fruit, the one that's easiest to get. And so, with the help of Blue Ribbon and all these others that are helping keep the lands open, they can't do it just through, judicial legislative ways. They have to have our support. We have to be present. We have to spend money. We have to have the economy behind us because we're spending money in that economy. And those businesses going, no, we need the off-roaders. And in Moab, really what it is it's a loud minority that's getting their way because they're loud. And when you look at the majority of people in Moab, especially the locals, they want off-roading. That's why it's been there for over 50 years and why EJS was the most successful, longest, or one of the longer running events in the nation. They've got a good recipe. They've got great trails, and it's something we got to fight for. And I mean, I would love for everyone to come here, but at the same time, the sport needs to support Moab. We can't back away. We can't walk away from it. We have to support Red Rock four-wheelers. We have to support their trail system and the local businesses that do want us, and just let it rip.
Because haven't they closed down a lot of trails? I think it gets shut down next year. There's a whole heap of trails in Moab getting shut down in the surrounding area.
In the surrounding area, there's, I think, 200 miles of trails that are set to be shut down. However, Trail Hero is in a lawsuit in line with Blue Ribbon Coalition to keep all those trails open. On top of that, Senator Mike Lee here in Utah has proposed legislation nationally that says for every square mile of trail that gets, or every square mile of land that gets shut down to motorized access, there has to be another square mile of land open for motorized access. And it's not even just motorized access, just access in general, because groups like Sierra Club and SUA, Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance, they don't want it to be shut down to just motorized access. They don't want any access. Their end goal is not even to have hikers on there, no horseback riders, no mountain bikers. And so at the end of the day, like, this whole off-road culture is not just motorized access. It's all encompassing. And that's locally, we have a group called Utah Public Lands Alliance, or UPLA is what the locals call it. And they do a really good job at helping us fight to keep Sand Mountain open. But lately, within the last 2 years, they've been under really good management and direction. And now they're fighting for all things Utah as well. And it's just nice to have another voice out there and, working to keep our lands open.
Yeah.
Do you think the rapid inflation in Moab is also hurting? I mean, you can't get a hotel these days in Moab under $150 like you used to.
Right. I think a lot of that has to do with the city and the traveling taxes and things that is naturally put on a tourism type town. They have no economy anymore when it comes to, they don't do any mining there. There's no industry. Their economy is based off of tourism, and that's pretty much it. They're starting to get a college campus, but it's a remote campus. It's not a big college town by any measure. And so you have all these hotels that have been put in, and all that's going to happen is as fewer people go there, prices have no choice but to drop. But they're always going to be big on big weekends like Easter Jeep Safari. They're just going to jack those prices up. And,
right.
What I do know is that Moab sits in Grand County, and right on the south side of Moab, still in that Moab Valley, is San Juan County. And I've been working with San Juan for a while now, and they've asked us to do an event in San Juan. We don't want to compete or do something against Red Rock four-wheelers. We want to support them. And so we're not really going to go that route, but I do know that there is a large influx of commercial real estate getting ready to be blown out of the water, basically, and built there in San Juan County, just south end of that Moab Valley, or what's called Spanish Valley.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, it's
That's
just,
actually a really beautiful area too.
Yeah.
well, I don't think, so I think my first year for EJS was 2019. And coming from Australia, I saw the videos of how busy it was and this and that. And I got let down in 2019 because I thought, where is everybody?
Yeah.
It was because of the prices of Airbnbs and then the hotels. And I stayed in the cheapest hotel I could find. I think it was $139 a night. And it wasn't anything special. Then the year after that, I was in an Airbnb. But from that point, from being 2019 to 2020, made me realize EJS was dying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because of Trail Hero. It wasn't because of anything else.
No.
It was people can't afford to go there with a Jeep, fuel, restaurant for dinner and whatever else. People who go there now are hikers and bike riders.
Well, and the off-road community, and I support Red Rock four-wheelers whether they like it or not. I know that they're not big fans of ours, but there's probably some things that they could do to make things easier on participants and companies alike for their event. We deal with BLM just the same as they do, and we deal with the state the same as they do, and it doesn't have to be so cumbersome. But at the same time, one thing that is very distinctly different between every event and Trail Hero is that Trail Hero is a business. We donate because we like to. This year we will have over $210,000 worth of charitable proceeds donated. So we donate like it's a nonprofit. However, we are a for-profit, and what that means is at the end of the day, and by the way, we're for-profit because of all the competitions and the purse considerations and stuff that we have to have this rock sports entertainment involved. That automatically puts us at for-profit. However, the nice thing about that is we're very fluid. You have a single point of contact. If you're a company, you deal with one person. You get an answer immediately. You don't have to wait for 3 club meetings to find out what color your t-shirt is. It's just not the same. And so, with an older club in age, that a lot of things are a lot more rigid and defined and black and white, and that doesn't really bode well for participants or companies that want to be involved. And I think that as they get new blood and new minds involved, which they are working on doing that, I think things will get a lot easier for everyone involved. And I know that the locals in Moab are pretty upset over the fact that they are losing the market share of off-roaders. And I know that they're trying to make changes. If you're familiar with the government positions, even mayor or whatever in that side, I mean, the mayor only, when she's been there for a while, she only won by like 13, 14 votes. I mean, it was very close. They had to recount and make sure everything was right. So she narrowly won, but it's only a matter of time till things really change. And, people go, holy smokes, we only lost by 14 votes. I know 14 people who didn't vote, and so I think that things will change there. It takes time. Unfortunately, it's not like you could just go make changes. There's a process in America, but I think it's all trending in the right direction.
I think my first year in Moab wasn't during EJS. Since I lived in Denver, it's only a quick drive over the mountain for us. So I think that was in 2012 or 13. And I would go at least once a year after that, sometimes twice a year. And always loved it, always had a great time. And then like Chris said, around 2019, that's when everyone started seeing some sort of a change. For me, the change was very, very pronounced in 2022.
Yeah.
I was doing an event and I was filming the event, and it was an overland event. We passed through Moab for the night, and we stopped into a restaurant, and they were not welcoming to our group whatsoever.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate, it's unfortunate that happens, but especially nowadays, everything's so polarizing, and people draw their very rigid political lines and say deal with it. And the nice thing is you have the power to take your money elsewhere. And if you're not going to be accepted, well, these guys over here want us, and so we're going to pack up, leave, write a negative review, do everything we can to let our people know don't come here, don't support these guys, and then go somewhere else. And I think that's important. If you're not accepted in a business establishment and you sit there and you're a patron anyway, then I think that's not necessarily the right path forward, but my first trip to Moab was in '97. I went with my dad. I think I was 13 years old at the time. I just aged myself, by the way, so you guys know. It was crazy because I remember, you read the magazines and it's four-wheeler and Petersons and all these, things. And then you see those guys, those same vehicles on the trail. And I was enamored. I had a Dodge D50. That was my truck, my first wheeling vehicle, and I'm watching guys with 35s and all these built vehicles roll through the trail. And there's Walker Evans and there's Shannon Campbell and there's Sonny Honegger. And, there's a group called the Dirty Dozen. And if you're old school, you know who I'm referring to. And, I was just one of those kids that wanted him to sign my magazine, and it was the coolest thing in the world, and 2 years ago I brought my buggy to Moab, and obviously times are different. You can't just drive the buggy down the street like you used to be able to. And so we trailer over to a spot, and then we start driving up Moab Rim. And we do this like Easter egg hunt thing where we get people involved and they find our eggs. And it's just a really fun, cool way to engage with the community. And one of the kids came up to me and was like, "Hey, I found your egg. Can you sign the egg for me? Can you sign my hat?" I'm like, "Sure, like whatever. Like, I don't know why you'd want my signature." And the kid turned around and was like, "I got Rich to sign my stuff." And I didn't even know he knew my name, and it kind of full circle, you realize like you're now the guy I looked up to as a kid. I think it was Ned Bacon was one of those guys, and Sam from Sam's Off-Road. All those guys were people that you saw in Tough Truck Challenge and all these cool things. And you just wanted to one day have a rig like theirs, and you'd circle things in that you saw in the magazine. You're like, "Oh, well, my rig's going to have that quarter elliptical suspension," which is a terrible design, but that was like what you wanted back then. That was a cool thing, and they've got 35s or 37s, the newest, biggest tire. And so to me, it still is a magical place. It's still, no matter what, you're never going to beat the views of Moab at Sand Hallow. It's just not the same.
Nope.
There's more challenges in Moab, and there's a little bit more freedom. There's more challenges at Sand Hallow, and there's more freedom at Sand Hallow. But it's only a matter of time till those things start to clamp and get pressure on those as well. And the one thing that, Sand Hallow is open OHV right now, meaning you could build a trail and you can drive anywhere you want. Well, the downside, or the only reason why that's that way, is because of the sand dunes. The sand dunes are the one thing that keeps that place open OHV. And BLM's getting ready to write a new RMP, which will dictate, if that remains as open OHV or not. And so we're building trails every year, as many as we can, to make sure that if and when that place changes designation, we've got enough for all the fun in the world at our place. And, we've scouted and driven every canyon out there, and we've submitted every route we can, and we're constantly adding new routes and finding new things. And, it's a matter of time until that gets frozen and we just get what we have now. And then we kind of fall in the same boat as Moab. Well, there's nothing new. There's nothing that's keeping me coming back. I've already done all the trails. Where's the next spot? And so that's inevitable. However, the mystique and the everything that Moab is, you go to that town and you feel different. It smells different. That you're encased by red rock, hundreds of feet up, and it's a rich red rock, not, a light colored red rock. And you feel like an ant there. And when you get out and you are able to explore up these different canyons and see these different views, you can't get anywhere else in the world. That's a very special thing. And I would hate for every single person in the U.S. to not have the ability to go experience that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about losing it for the off-road community. It's about, we did one of these Hero for a Day, community outreach program deals in Moab one year. And there's locals from Moab that had always seen the Red Rocks, never got a chance to go up there. And we took them up there. And we did that for 2 or 3 years in a row. And people would get to the top of Moab Rim and they'd be crying because they always wanted to see that site and never got a chance to. And it just puts into perspective, like, it's not about the off-roaders or having the ability for us to go do it. Like you said, Chris, earlier, we're almost kind of jaded. Like, we've done it before. But it's for those that have never had that opportunity, and the only way we lose it is if we don't use it. So if we pull out of Moab, they get what they want, no more use or very little use, and they have a reason to shut it down. And now motorized access and the therapeutic benefits of the outdoors are cut off from people who need it. So,
yeah.
So we have a friend, Jake, that we took up to Moab Rim, and he cried also. But that was mostly because he's afraid of heights and he wanted down now.
Yeah, we took him to the top of the world, and he I think he was ready to squish his steering wheel. He was that tight, hanging on.
Yeah.
It was cool.
So there's a lot of mountain bike activity in southern Utah. Are any of these organizations with mountain bikes joining you guys in these fights?
So that's a nice thing about UPLA is that they have recognized that off-roading is not just motorsports or motorized access. And they've been able to bring in and cross that line or barrier and bring in the mountain bike community, because the mountain bikers are starting to have issues with their trails getting taken away down here. And so, yes, the answer is yes. There is some cohesion there, and it's working. However, that's here locally. It's not necessarily statewide in that front yet.
Is that because Bryce Canyon hosts the Red Bull event? You think that's why? Or
Bryce Canyon actually doesn't host it. The town or the Red Bull Rampage is in Virgin, which is like literally in the backyard of Larry McRae's house.
Yes.
And
on the way to Zion.
Yeah, on the way to Zion. And so it's always a week after Trail Hero. We go up and I've got a vehicle that actually gets used as a shuttle for them, and common friend Randall Davis drives that for me up there.
Are you talking about the van?
No, I sold the van.
Okay.
I had a Privia van. It was the coolest van in the world. But no, this is a Suburban with the roof cut off of it, and it's got bull horns on the front. And it's kind of like a safari rack on it. It's really cool. I actually bought it from Larry McRae.
Okay.
And anyway, that is held on private property. And so it's a little different. But around that property are hundreds of mountain bike trails all getting ready to get shut down. So, yeah.
That's insane. So kind of a funny story. When I first moved to Tennessee, there was a chance that I was not going to make it to EGS that year. This was in 2020. I ended up going, but I joked that I wanted to start an event called Eastern Jeep Safari. And it was just a complete joke, saying, hey, we'll have it at Windrock or AOP. Well, I got a message from a Red Rock member, like, hey, you don't want to do this, we'll sue you. And I'm like, dude, chill out. This was a joke.
Right.
I'll probably still be at EGS. If you don't really know me that well, then I love to joke. This was just, that's all that was.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think that's the part of the stigma that they have too, is that it's off-putting. They're a little off-putting.
They're very set in their ways. And I get it. It's the older you get, and you've done this for 50 plus years, you know what you're doing. There's a reason why you've been doing it for that long, and it's been successful. However, technology's changed, people have changed, our access and rights to a lot of our lands have changed, and so that means that you have to find ways to change with it. And if you don't, then you die. And the one constant in life is change, and so either you change with it or you don't. And
Right.
I think that's if anything continues to bring that event down, it's that there's usually a lack of change. But that's also one of the things that people keep coming back for, is that it's good old reliable, same. It is the exact same as it was in 1997.
Yeah.
That's it, So
That might be the
how many
downside.
times?
That might be the downside to all Jeep clubs too, is that the change is that there isn't any.
Yeah.
It's always seems to be the same board members. The only thing that really changes is the members. There's usually a huge turnover every year, because some people that have been in it for a long time realize, I didn't like politics in Wheeling, and now there's a lot of politics in Wheeling.
Yeah. Well,
and so they just kind of get turned off.
And you get some new blood that wants to create change and they see the writing on the wall and they go, this has to kind of happen, or else this isn't going to work so well. And that new young blood basically gets run out of town because the old group doesn't want to change. And, kind of more or less felt something similar to that here locally. There's an older off-road club here, and they're pretty well set in their ways. They helped us run the very first Trail Hero event, and when we were done with the event, they came back with a bunch of changes that we needed to make, and every change was reflective of what they do for their event. And I said, well, thanks for the input, but we don't want to be your event. We want to be us, and we want to be unique and different. And so we're going to try something else. And we lost a lot of support because of that. And that event has been around for a while, and they had a lot of reasons to take the stance that they did, whether it was because of me or in spite of me, or because of things that happened way before I came around. They generally have a good reason to be in their position. But an event like mine, we forge the new path. We don't care about what tradition is, and we want to, and we understand the value of tradition, but we want to try new things and kind of open that door for somebody else to try it as well, and you go to all these events and you take the best thing from each one and you go, okay, that's what I'm going to do for my event. And we model a lot of our event off of, Easter Jeep Safari and Winter 4x4 Jamboree, and specifically Jeepers Jamboree. I'm from Northern California. The Rubicon's my backyard. I went to high school with the president of Jeepers Jamboree, his son. Some of my high school friends are now on the board or really in deep with the Jeepers Jamboree guys. And so that event has always kind of been a model event for me. That's the event that I grew up on. And I just feel like you take the best things from what you can and you try to build what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't mean like that event has been around. I think they're coming up on 75 years here. And this year, I think 2025 is 73 years. It's the longest running off-road event, period. Longer than Baja 1000, longer than everything. It's it. And they've got a great recipe. However, their technology's changed. Access has changed. Things have changed, and they've had to change with it and create a different event than what it was when it first started. And because of that, they're wildly successful, and they're open to new ideas. I work with those guys on some ideas and some consulting and different things to make their event better as well. And they're open-minded enough to understand what's going on, whereas others are just kind of set in their ways, and that's fine. That's the way they want to do business, and then that's what's going to happen.
Whoever suggested to Jeepers Jamboree or the Rubicon Foundation, hey, we need some porta potties on the trail, thank you very much.
Well, that happened. So years and years and years ago, my dad started this thing called the Rubicon Trail Patrol with a bunch of other people as well. And one of the things that they found was that there was what we call little white flowers everywhere because there was no porta potties. There's no way to get rid of human waste. And they then started realizing that, like, if you buried them, the animals would come pick it up and eat the poop, but the paper's left over. And the paper doesn't dissolve. It takes like 7 years or something crazy for the paper to be fully dissolved and back into nature. If you use the incorrect paper and stuff like that. So, they started at that point really pushing for, these porta potties and different amenities on the trail. And a lot of people don't realize that the Rubicon Trail is actually a county road. It's not anything but a county road. It's not a trail. And so, that county road had gotten really impassable years and years ago. And so, the county said, well, we got to do something to make it more passable and get it back into being, we don't want to ruin the mystique of the trail. But, we can't have it so extreme. And I don't know if I agree with that, but that's the path that they chose. And with easier access to those things, it means more people. And generally, because of more people, there's more problems. So those toilets were pretty necessary.
Yeah, well, Sand Mountain has its own toilet, and I think it's the best toilet.
Yeah.
It is a pretty cool toilet. Eco-friendly, sitting on the side of a mountain.
The Desert Rats and the St. George Jeepers have actually added a couple more toilets out there too now. So it's you don't just have the one out in the middle of nowhere on the cliff. It's there's a couple out there on cliffs now.
No, that's good.
Yeah, the first time I realized that it was a county road on the Rubicon was my first time out there. My wife and I, we got married on the Rubicon. It was kind of our elopement type thing,
Sure.
So right after we kind of did our own vows on the trail, we saw El Dorado County Sheriff in a Jeep. I was like, what in that? I was like, is that a theme Jeep or what's going on here? And so the guy gets out, talks to us, and sure enough, it was a legit sheriff.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys patrol the trail? He's like, this is a county road. I was like, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's the roughest county road in the country.
Probably, yeah. I would say so.
Yeah.
Well, and it's just relentless. It's a tough trail. It goes, it's not the most difficult. I think it's rated probably like a 6 or a 7 at this point. But it is relentless. And if you're not ready for that, it's easy to make mistakes after you've been wheeling a 7 rated trail for 8 hours. You make a mistake and rip your steering off, or, come down a little hard and break your frame, or rip a control arm off. And that stuff happens all the time,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the funny thing too, is like, so coming from the East Coast to the West Coast, wheeling out Sand Hallow, everyone's like, oh, this is a 6 rated trail. I'm like, okay, what's that? Because out here you've got, diamond trails and blue trails and whatever else. I'm like, can we just stick to the number system? It'd be so much easier. Because it's like you come out here to like Windrock and everyone's like, oh, I don't know. I don't even know what the trails are out there. I just follow.
Well, the trail rating system is actually pretty unique. I don't know if you guys know the history behind it, but it used to be 1 to 5, and that's when like 35s were the biggest tire, and you didn't have like rocker protection and stuff. So a 5 rated trail was really difficult in those conditions. And then you get the advent of rock buggies and really serious suspension modifications and the lack of care for body damage, and that now that made the trail rating system need to go up to like a 10. In my mind, a 10 should be impossible. Like that's the toughest, craziest trail that nobody should be able to do. And it was that for a while. And then the next level of components came along, and now you have rear steer and sticky compound tires that are 42 inches and portal axles and rear engine and all this real exotic, stuff. And that's when we said, okay, like we can't just keep building this. Well, now we go to 15, and what happens after a new technology comes out? So we just said, we're going to up the rating to 15, but a 15 is impossible. Like nobody's ever done it. And as soon as one person finishes a trail completely without any aid, then it drops to a 14. After 20 people have completed it without aid, it drops to a 13. And then from there, it kind of either it can keep dropping or it just stays kind of there at a 13.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So, the Rubicon, can you talk about the way they groom it for the Jamboree and then it being left alone up until a Jamboree?
Yeah. So, the trail is kind of what it is every other week out of the year, except for Jeepers Jamboree and Jeep Jamboree. And during those 2 or 3 events, the Jeepers Jamboree is actually 3 events. They've got a 4-day trip that's, for mainly adults only. They've got like a 3-day family trip, and then they've got a side-by-side event as well, where they can take the side-by-side guys up. And then you have the Jeep Jamboree, which has their own series of events as well. But the common theme behind each of them is that they have a large amount of volunteers that actually stack rocks and help people get through every obstacle of the event, which is pretty unique. And it's not really something that I've seen at any other events. We surely don't do it at our event, and I don't know of any others that do. But they have so many people that help them do that event. It's literally a village of people, and these people camp on the trail for a week at a time just to be out there to stack rocks to make sure that they get through. Some random dude from wherever he's from in the country makes it through that obstacle, and that's all they care about is that obstacle. It's really a cool thing when you look at, everyone kind of wants to be somebody within the industry or whatever their deal is. These guys are like the unsung heroes. They go out there and they stack rocks, they get people through, and you'll never see that guy again until the next year when you come up to a different obstacle, or maybe it's the same one and he's there stacking rocks for you again. And so, and then once the event's over, a lot of times the rocks kind of just move out of the way on their own, and the trail's wide open again, and you're, out there doing some harder wheeling. And without those rocks being stacked, it's definitely a 7 rated trail. It's every bit of difficult. However, with those rocks being stacked, you can get a completely stock, like Glenn Plake and I a couple years ago took a stock flat fender all the way through the Rubicon and didn't stack. Well, he stacked some rocks.
Don't get me started with those flat fenders. God. For the struggle that I made on a trail in Moab, they made it look so easy.
Well, that's you too. I mean, you're driving
right.
That.
Yeah, he breaks a lot.
I mean, I heard a story, Chris, about you getting a tire up onto a rock, just flexing, like it was no big deal, and the vehicle's like 13 degrees, off camber, and you're like, hold on, stop, I'm not going any further, I'm gonna roll. And this was kind of a thing for a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, that would be Jeremy Hopper for that, for sure. Spreading rumors, which are true. I never liked off camber ever.
Yeah,
but Sand Hallow fixed that problem.
Yeah,
because I got used. We
got you out on the Ledges Trail at Sand Hallow.
Yes, and that was that brought it all the way back again.
That was so much fun.
That was like, I do not want to do this. No. But that has become so. Plan B, Milt's Mile, and the Ledges would have to be my favorite trails out there.
Yeah,
because they put you in positions that if like those 3 trails will push your limit to where if you haven't not a serious wheeler, that'll test you.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. I just tell anyone who watching, I tell everybody at the shop, if they all plan to go somewhere, if you want a really, really good event that you can wheel and be looked after, it doesn't matter what, if you're a beginner, intermediate, expert, don't go to EJS, go to Trail Hero.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest you go to as many events as you can.
Well, yeah, but most people on the East Coast plan one event on the West, and it's normally EJS. To me, I have more fun and a better experience at Trail Hero than EJS. Only because everyone's together. It's not like you said before. You get off the trail, what's everyone do? Where are we going for dinner?
Yeah.
And then you're done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate that. I know that, we have 450 volunteers, and every time they hear that, it means the world to them because they really work hard to make this thing happen. And I know that I'm the face of the franchise of sorts, but I'm just the spokesman. There's so many people behind me that make this thing happen, and it surely isn't just me. Even though I'm the one that people thank or whatever, it is an intense team. We have now like 4 full-time employees. We have probably 25 part-time employees, and then we have 450 this year, 450 volunteers to make it happen, and it's just crazy.
Well, and it's easy to volunteer because it's something that they get behind.
Yeah.
Because I want to see it grow. I always see St. George as my home because I'm coming back. That's where I'm going to retire. So, I've got to build the event from here. So when I come back, it's still there.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep it going for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about taking it on the road?
We get asked all the time. My problem with that is, there's a lot of people that want us to do a Trail Hero East. And I have a hard time with that for a multitude of reasons. The last couple of years that we've actually thought about it, I feel like the economy hasn't necessarily been in a great place for expansion. I don't think that you shouldn't be expanding your business in a down economy. You should be just maintaining and getting through. And we've still been able to expand the one event, but to move or host an event that's, across country is near impossible. Right now, if I have a problem with a permit, I drive 3 minutes down the road to the state park and we just hash it out face to face or whatever. And so if I have a problem on the East Coast, I got to make flight arrangements, get out there, 3-4 days later. It's exponentially more expensive. And so there's a lot of issues with that. But the biggest issue that I see is that we built such a cool, unique thing here in Southern Utah that if I branded, hey, we're doing a Trail Hero East, people may expect what they saw in year 9 at year 1. And that is not even possible. We would probably grow it just like we did year 1 Trail Hero here. It'd probably be very similar there. And, and on top of that, the wheeling's different. So there would probably not be a trail breaker. We'd probably be more oriented around, rock bouncing and working with, those guys and trying to figure out something that fit, their culture more than just trying to force what we do here on the West Coast into the East Coast.
I don't think it would work.
Yeah.
It's a totally different environment.
And the parks, one thing that helped us was Sand Hallow was virtually unknown at the time. There was one event that happened and it was very small but successful and it's grown at the same time. But, we've kind of put Sand Hallow on the map in my opinion. And I feel like it's really hard to do on the East Coast when you're dealing with private property. We're on public lands here, state and federal lands. And so the government entities are a little easier to deal with, and especially on a long-term scale where a private property owner may go, hey, I see your event and you're making thousands of dollars. And if you're in events, that you're not making thousands of dollars. It might look that way. It might be perceived that way, but you're not. And it's easy for a property owner to come back to you and go, I want, 2, 3, 4 times the amount more money if you're going to do this again next year. And I only know that because it's happened to me before when I host We Rock events on the East Coast. And so it's one of those, like, it's easy to move a competition because it's, maybe 100 drivers at the most. The biggest the sport ever was 100 drivers, and we're just moving 4 hours away to a new property or whatever. But you try to move 6,000, registered participants and 200 companies. And, we had over 70,000 people through the gates this year at one point or another for the event. And that's not easy to move. And it'd just be very cumbersome to try to do that on private property.
That's a crazy amount of people.
Yeah, I could see how that would be difficult, especially right now when people think their opinion matters the most. And these days, people will just are freely putting it out there on the internet. Hey, I just went to this place and this place fucking sucked.
Yeah, well, and we get that too, by the way. Like, We had some
Really?
hate this year. Yeah. And
Oh my
we
God.
do every
Always
year,
get hate. You'll always get hate.
Yeah. This year was a little bit more cumbersome because it was 100 degrees, which we've never experienced in October. So everyone's on edge. And then on top of that, there was a couple events that have happened over the last couple of years, not Trail Hero, that required a lot of law enforcement presence. And so statewide, they said all events are going to get an increase in law enforcement presence. And there's a lot of people who were not legal, who had an open container or weren't registering their vehicles or whatever. And when you're doing illegal things, you win crummy prizes, and
Right.
so I'll never advocate that law enforcement doesn't do their job. I will advocate that law enforcement should probably take a level of education instead of a level of enforcement. However, if you're drinking and driving or it's any kind of alcohol related incident, I believe you should definitely get hit. And if you're a dick when you get pulled over, you're probably going to get cited. So there's some things that, a lot of people didn't deserve, and there's some things that a lot of people did deserve. And because of that, the presence was higher, and a lot of people felt it, and so at the end of the day, that reflects our event, and we're working actively with local law enforcement to make sure that, our participants are more educated and it's a better result for next year, but every year we've got the same problems that any other event does. We do a really good job, to be honest, at not making it feel like the event isn't bad. We have the same hurdles. We have the same gotcha moments. That every event does. And I think the difference between a good event and a bad event is a good event, you'll never know that there were problems.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a bad event, you'll see the problems and everyone knows it. And so
Right.
that's
The thing that really sucks too is the people that know better are still going to complain about getting harassed or whatever by the police.
yeah.
But I mean, people are grown-ups. These
Yeah.
people should know that they have to have, a permit or
Yeah.
plates or not an open container, that sort of thing.
Well,
So-
and a lot of the complaints actually came from people who were not registered participants. They just come to the
goodness.
event to experience the mountain and experience the event, but they're not paying to be part of it. And they're not, they are helping provide an economic impact because of their presence and the things they're buying and the things they're doing, but they're not paying to be a participant. And so you still have those people, and those are usually the ones that have the most problems with law enforcement. And they didn't know you had to be registered in the state. Well, if you were part of the event, you download our app and you're on our email list, and we're telling you this information weekly of all the things you need to do to be legal at our event. And because they don't do that, then they have problems because they didn't know. And the worst thing for Utah or for these people is that Utah is a know before you go state. So you can't get pulled over and be like, I didn't know I couldn't drink and drive. Like, or I didn't know I had to be registered. Well, your job when you come to this state or any other state is to know what the laws are, and if you don't know those, then expect to get infractions.
So can you clarify something for me, Rich? What is the...
I could try.
Well, I'm pretty sure you're going to. What is the deal with... So you have to register your vehicle now to go on the mountain?
So Utah classifies vehicles in kind of 4 different manners. You have street legal, like freeway vehicle. That's large plates, the regular size license plates you see on every car and truck in the U.S., right? Then you have 3 other designations. One is it's type 1, type 2, type 3. Type 1's like dirt bikes, type 2 is like ATVs, and type 3 is off-road vehicles, okay? And those are all like the little plates, almost like you see on motorcycles, right? Well, in Utah, you can buy a type 3. My Jeep is actually type 3. So that means I can't drive it on the freeway, but I can drive it to and from the trail. I can drive it into town. my tires can stick out. I don't have the same laws that apply to me as a regular street legal vehicle would.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, and that's for locals or people who live within the state. If you're from out of state, you have to buy an off-road registration. And you pretty much have to do this at every state. There is no reciprocity. You go to King of the Hammers, you need the same $35 green sticker. Well, we have the same thing here in Utah. Arizona has one, Nevada has one, Colorado has one. If it's called a non-resident OHV sticker, basically.
Right. So that's for all the small plated vehicles.
Well, it's for any vehicle that doesn't have a large plate.
Okay, correct.
Okay, so you have to
be. That's the biggest arguments I see on Facebook.
Yeah.
Is with guys who just have Jeeps like I do, complaining about they have to go and get this new sticker or whatever. I said, you don't have to do that. You're registered Jeep on the street, on the highway. It's the ones that aren't registered for the highway that you need to get that permit.
And there's a lot of misconception out there and a lot of people who don't understand the law. And then at the end of the day, if you are registered in your state and you have one of those big plates, you're fine. Not a worry in the world. You don't have to be highway or freeway capable. You just have to have that plate that says you are, and you're fine. Yeah. And that has to match your registration and insurance. And if just like any other vehicle would, right? And there's a lot of people that, like to toe the line and not do the right thing. And those are the people that are going to get caught and have problems. And that's going to always be an issue, whether you're at an event or not. The other thing that you have to have in Utah is this thing called the off-road education. And it's basically like a little off-road driver's license. It takes 10 minutes. You cannot fail the test. It's one of those, it's like, if you answered this wrong, first of all, go back. It's not that answer. Choose a different one, So it takes 10 minutes. It's free. And that was put in place because we had a large presence of people that are not from the area that were off-roading and not following simple trail etiquette. And so that's what the test is about, is on-road and off-road etiquette,
That started a couple years ago, right?
Yeah. When you're driving from the trail and you're coming back to your Airbnb or hotel, do you run every light bar on and your music blaring and your whips on that are flashing red and blue? Probably not,
Chris would, of course.
No. No. No, so, I'm that person that will throw rocks at you going past if you have your LED light bar on.
Yeah.
Why?
So it's one of those things like it's questions like that. Should you do this? Well, no, of course not. However, people do it anyway. If you're, I think one of the questions is, it's 3:00 in the morning and you're driving to your house. Should you be playing music and being in a high gear and having your LED light bars on? And it's like, no, like just be reasonable. Nobody cares. And I love rock and roll or music just as much as the next person, but
really,
nobody wants to hear your music. Actually, I don't actually listen to music. No, you listen to music. I don't. But
I don't know. You put a choice song on my stereo once, and we nearly got kicked out of the state park.
What? Which one was that?
Oh, you forget about that?
I did. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So
what did I put on there?
No, well, I don't know. I don't know if I can.
We can't say it. Okay, don't say it.
It was pretty obscene. I'm pretty.
Is it me so horny?
No, it was way worse than that. Yes.
Oh. Yeah, let's not say that then. I do remember. Yeah, let's not go there.
Yeah.
That was bad. That was not good.
No. You were
speaking of music, the concerts have been getting bigger at the event.
Yeah.
Who's your ultimate get?
Well, POD last year was pretty awesome. I remember listening to them growing up, and I was always enamored with their music. My ultimate would be like Leonard Skinner, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, like any of those. Obviously, some of them you can't get. I'd love to have Jimi Hendrix. That ain't happening. But the thing that I've found is that like what you could afford is totally different than who you're able to get. So like, for instance, a lot of these, like POD took a really big pay cut just to be part of our event because of what it stood for and the messaging and stuff. And that was really cool. And when I say really big pay cut, a lot of these artists are $1 million or more, not POD,
Right.
but you want Morgan Wallen, and 2 years ago he cost $1.3 million for a 90-minute set. So obviously we're not going to be able to afford that. I would rather give the money in charitable proceeds than to an artist that's going to charge us that much.
Mhm.
So, the artists that we want are the artists that are willing to play for us and understand our position and what our messaging is and who we are, right?
More for the cause.
Yeah, yeah. And so, we've had some really cool artists, Uncle Cracker, POD, Filter, Colt Ford. There's a whole bunch of them. This year, the artist that we were able to sign early and for ridiculously cheap was Lakeview, and then their career popped off and they got 6 number one or 6 top 10 hits, and now they're commanding a lot more money than what we paid for them. But we signed a contract early and it just worked out that way. And in 2 years, people are going to go, holy crap, we listened to Lakeview at Trail Hero before they were big. And that's kind of like the promoter's dream, is to have that ability. But if I had to, I would love to get Leonard Skinner, even though it's only one dude that's left in the band. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
All right, I got one more question for you.
AC/DC for sure.
Yeah, AC/DC.
Yeah. Well, you would have to dress up as Angus, Chris.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, with the schoolboy outfit.
Yeah, for sure.
One more question for you, Rich, and this is a very, very important question for everyone. Have you seen Chris dance at the shows, and how does he dance?
No. No. I'm at the back. I'm at the back in the dark. Pretty much up against the fence. No.
I think he's just a cool guy who leans against a pole or something,
Well, half the music I've even heard of before, because there are smaller bands.
Yeah.
That I've never so as you know, I got married out there last year at Trail Hero.
Yeah.
Because there was a reason for that. Because guess where I get to spend my anniversaries?
Yeah. I like it. I felt bad because I was a little busy. I couldn't make it over there.
No, I understood that. But I think, what was the bands last year? You just mentioned them.
We had Uncle Cracker.
That guy.
Saving Abel and POD.
Yep. So everyone's like, man, Uncle Cracker. I'm like, who the hell is Uncle Cracker? I'm like, I've never heard of this guy. And someone showed me his hit. And I'm like, I'm there all night. I had my mum there. My daughter was there from Australia. I said, yeah, come. You got to listen to it. And mum's seen me wheel out there and wanted to know what was going on. And she's like, who is this guy? And I'm like, I'm the same with you, mum. I have no idea. Yeah. But everyone's like, yeah.
Yeah, he played a great show. And he was,
that was good.
He took a $250,000 pay cut just to play at the show. And basically, he paid his band, and that was it. And that was really cool. Yeah,
I met him. And
you're like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah. Well, he came.
Chris is like, do I call you Uncle or do I call you Cracker?
Actually, I might not have been him. I think it might have been the year before that. One of the lead singers came up to me because he was chasing the product, though. It might have been supporting back then.
Yeah.
And he come running up to me and go, hey, dude, I heard something. Yeah, what'd you hear? And then, we exchanged numbers, and it's a good place to come to if you want to network and meet new people. And it's just like EGS. You come back the following year to see people you haven't seen for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I felt about it when I keep coming back for the 3 years that I did it.
Yeah.
Ultimate family reunion.
Yep.
It seems that way. And I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've met and the relationships I've been able to build just because of this event. And I'm so thankful for everyone. I mean, good, bad, or indifferent, whether they had, criticism of what we did or not, it all helps. Whether you like to hear it or not, it all helps.
Well, it helps growth, I think.
Yeah.
Well, Rich, I appreciate you coming on. This was a good talk. We got to do this again soon.
Love to. Yep.
And all the best in the future. And I hope the next event is just bigger than the next.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a lot of
seeing
things.
you next year.
I hope so. We're getting ready for year 10. This is our 10th year. I finally get to crack that bottle of Gentleman's Jack that was given to me 10 years ago. And because of it, we're going to go all out. And if you think this has been a big event in the past, just wait. We just signed on a huge sponsor that's getting ready to help us do things that we've only dreamt of being able to do. And as time progresses, we'll be able to announce those things, but it's something that we're really excited about. And the 10-year anniversary is actually going to get kicked off with what we're calling Trail Hero Expeditions, which is May 11th through the 18th, where we're going to go overlanding and check out all sorts of southern Utah, southern Nevada, and northern Arizona. And we're tied in with the Casablanca Hotel Casino to do this huge overland event that's all going to be televised, and we're really excited about that being like our first portion of kicking off our 10-year anniversary. So
cool.
Sweet. Well, congratulations on the success, and many more.
Thank you. Thanks for having
and
me.
also congratulations on your personal life too, Rich.
Thank you. Yeah, recently married.
Yes.
Nice.
Happily
Congratulations.
married. It's been awesome, and she's great, and she's so supportive in everything that I do, and this whole thing that we do it's just me and a bunch of friends trying to do something cool for all of our other friends, and she's been wildly supportive of that, and because of that, the event's grown. She, it's her help has been undeniable, and so only good things to come. It's been great.
Fantastic.
Right on. Well, again, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. And everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you, guys.